Hello, I'm Dominique Shimizu. This is a quick impromptu screencast about screencasting. It's a performance check for professional development on screencasting at Valencia College. The main difference between a screenshot and a screencast would be the screenshot is a picture of what's on the device and a screencast is a video recording. And who said books would be obsolete in 10 years? That would be, and I learned from the course, Thomas Edison, who had predicted that things would move ahead quite fast into new inventions and replacements for printed book. Books are still here. They're still going strong, although not as strong as they have been in the past, especially in academics. And people have turned to digital media and video for a lot of their information, and more they are turning to media. Why use screencasts with students? What are some of the ways that you can use them? Using screencasts with students is so useful and helpful because there's a lot of research that shows that when you use the two senses of visual and audio, that students are more recall the information better, they learn more deeply, they're more likely to engage, whether that's for feedback or for getting them content information or for explaining how to use or do something for the class. These can all be really helpful ways to use media to help students learn it, understand it, and pay attention to it in a more deep way. What are some of the differences between impromptu screencasting and planned? Impromptu tends to be for things like in announcements or individual feedback, group feedback, something that's done more on a short-term basis, use less resources, perhaps doesn't have editing, and you're not as concerned as generating something that would have a permanent transcript and perhaps a storyboard or script. You could perhaps just rely on the closed captioning within, say, YouTube or one of those automatic captioning programs. Now, a planned screencast is something that you might use from year to year within a course, or that many people might view. A planned screencast is often scripted, storyboarded. They may be done with a little bit more resources in terms of editing and time involved, more carefully selected media, and the purpose would be to use it with a larger audience, to use it from year to year. It would be a more lasting and a higher quality piece of digital media. So now that I know that students have the ability to screencast while taking a test online, how might this change the way you give a test? So not only could they broadcast or record a test and share that information with another person, they could get answers while live broadcasting. I mean, there's all sorts of elaborate ways that it could be, the testing environment could be manipulated when taking a test online, especially if it's a multiple choice, true, false, or something fairly simple to answer. Or you might have one right answer. Interestingly, I also sort of thought, like, okay, well, if I could screencast them and their face and their desktop, perhaps they could submit that as evidence that they stayed at the computer, they did their own work, they looked at the screen and didn't have any other tabs open. So in a way, it's almost like a respondus kind of thing. Maybe that could be considered a more secure test. But I think we take it a step further and say, hey, maybe multiple choice tests online are just not that reliable for measuring summative learning. So perhaps authentic assessments, where it's more based on what the students need to be able to do, or a little more creative answers, where you might have a student make something or write something and support their point of view with evidence. Project-based learning, group work, and presentations, these are all alternatives to the typical multiple choice test, where screencasting would not be an issue for cheating.